All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the sort of new format of our class for the rest of the semester. So this is Psych 357, the same class that you were taking 3 weeks ago now, I guess, but just with a little bit of a difference, the biggest difference being that we are no longer meeting in person, right? So we are no longer meeting in our assigned classroom that we were in a few weeks ago. You will be watching videos. So this is in a lot of ways going to be very, very similar to my other classes in that you're my fourth online class. And so now the way that it'll be formatted will be I will post a video on Monday and you will be required to watch that video. And in that video, I will at some point discuss a discussion topic. Okay, and so essentially the reason that there is a discussion topic is to encourage discussion, right? So we are no longer in a face-to-face format, but I still want to encourage discussion as much as possible. So each Monday you will see a video posted online. I will email out, let you know that it's posted. I record them on Mondays. The reason I do that is because I actually got some feedback last semester that I should make my videos more generic so I can use them for several years at a time. But I actually prefer to record them sort of in the moment because there could be some really interesting news or updates or whatever might take place, such as coronavirus. So thank you all. I will thank you in advance for allowing me some level of flexibility. And I will also give that level of flexibility back to you as well, as much as possible. And cool. Really good news I just got. Okay. So anyways, all right. So I'll give you back some level of flexibility. We are all sort of, going through this together. So please feel free to email me, let me know if there are any concerns. Please feel free to let me know if there's anything that I'm missing. So each video each week will be approximately 45 to 50 minutes. I try to keep them around that amount of time. Then that is it. You watch the video, you are done. And then you go on to Canvas and you post 2 discussion posts. Okay, I want 2 discussion posts. First is the response to the actual prompt that I give you. So this week I will give you a prompt. You will post one response to that, and then you'll post one response to one of your peers. I want both of your posts to be at least 4 sentences long. Okay, and so the grading is very simple. If you post once, you get 10 points. If you post twice, you get 20 points. Very, very simple. If you post twice, but one of your posts is 2 sentences long, you get 15 points. Okay, it's pretty simple, pretty basic, pretty easy to figure out. I hope that all my grading is really that way, but ultimately that is the way that it works. Okay, with the debates, that'll be a little bit interesting. And I'll actually go into that right here. So the debates will change a little bit, where we will now meet via Zoom. Okay, so ultimately, my goal is, so this Wednesday, my marijuana group will log into Zoom at noon, and we will have a debate for however long. You will do your presentations essentially for however long is appropriate, is needed, and then once you're done, you're done. If I remember, I will record the session. I will record the video. I should be able to do that with Zoom. I should be able to. I have not done it in the past, but I should be able to do it pretty easily. So I'll record the video and then I will post it online for anybody that is interested. I'll post it into Canvas, as long as I remember to record the video. And I'll try to make sure that I do that before we get too far on Wednesday. Okay, and then Friday at noon, our new group will come and present, or will log into Zoom and present. Okay, and so after this week, The reason we have a group going on Wednesday is essentially because because of the way that everything shifted a few weeks ago, where we did not have class on that Friday afternoon. Okay, and so we're going to have a debate on Wednesday, and then next week we'll only have a group coming or logging in on Friday. If you have already done your debate, this does not matter to you. You have successfully accomplished your goal there. And so yeah, I think that is it for the debates. If that is confusing at all, please let me know. For our debates this week, there are two. There's a new debate group for students, and we are going to debate what is going on right now with the coronavirus response. Okay, so I have my pro-coronavirus response group. In this group, I want you to argue that we are that it makes sense that we are sort of sheltering in place, that we are staying home, that we are doing all this, that we are responding the way that we are in order to save lives, right? This is a public health crisis, and we need to do whatever we can to save lives. Okay, so that is why that is our goal here, right? Is to stay at home, avoid getting myself sick, avoid getting my neighbors sick, avoid getting the individuals at Walmart sick, whatever it might be. And so that is the pro coronavirus response group. Okay, so on Friday, you will argue for coronavirus that this is the responsible thing to do. Okay, and then my anti-coronavirus group response group will be Jordan and Anna. And this group will essentially debate the opposite, right? That that this is overblown, that there is really no benefit to us sheltering in place, or maybe the benefit, of sheltering in place is far outweighed by the costs, right? So there is, you can go and find. I believe he's the lieutenant governor of my fair home state, I should say my birth state, Texas. Dan Patrick, he came out and said that we need to go back to work, right? We're crushing the economy because of a disease. That makes no sense to him. And so he is arguing in favor of everybody sort of going back to work, and, we let the chips fall where they might. Right? And so that is sort of the lens that I want my anti-coronavirus group to take, is that we are, yes, maybe there is some benefit to us sheltering in place, to staying home, but is the benefit necessary, and is it worth the cost, right? So there are a lot of people out there that the question is, the flu kills X number of people. It's, the flu is deadly as well. So, but we don't, stay home because of the flu. So why am I staying home because of coronavirus? And so I'm going to leave my opinions out of this argument as much as possible. But those are sort of the lenses that I want y'all to take. So pro coronavirus group is Grayson and Gretchen, and then Jordan and Anna are my anti-coronavirus group. And so yeah, so log in. I will send you a Zoom invite. I've already sent it for the Wednesday group, I believe. My marijuana group, if you have not gotten a Zoom invite, please let me know, because you should have received it already. And then today or tomorrow, I will send my coronavirus group their Zoom invite for Friday. Okay, so everything goes on the same way that it used to, except ideally you're not going to meet in person. You can, Zoom is a fantastic way to meet with your partner. So Grayson or Gretchen, reach out to the other, and Jordan and the same way. Figure out a time where you can sort of Zoom conference and figure out what you're going to be doing with your presentation, okay? Okay, so that is that. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I think we are good to go on debates. And so we'll get moving. All right, so cognitive constructivism is essentially a theory that asserts that whenever we are sort of faced with experiences, with observations of new experiences, of new evidence, our brain is forced to reconcile that evidence, right? And so in a lot of ways, we are, as we've discussed in the class before, our brains work in a way to make everything as comfortable as possible, right? And so that's why we've discussed schemas in the past, is these different categories that our brain works under and sort of files information under. But ultimately, cognitive constructivism suggests that students learn best in a world where they are able to learn through discovery and experience, right? And so, I mean, we know that, right? That's not a surprise to anybody. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. We know that experience really, really helps drive home certain ideas, right? And so the important thing here is to understand that I think that use in the classroom, has a lot of application, but it's not anything that isn't already being done by your high quality teachers out there, right? So I have discussed in the past before, if you are a Civil War fan, or if you're a U.S. history teacher in K-12 schools, you really can't live in a better region than this region right here, Kansas, Missouri region, because we have so much sort of concrete experiences, opportunities available to us here, right? And so the massacre site that I referred to a few times in the past is right on Highway 69, or not right on Highway 69, but the exit is off of Highway 69. And so you, as a history teacher, can easily go out and take your students to the site, right, where they can experience the they can sort of experience the what it was like to be there, the environment of this region, right, and kind of get some level of feeling of what it would be like to be lined up, obviously not in real life, but lined up against this river and shot. And so that provides a level of gravity and a level of information and experience that you can't get in the classroom. But it's also important to understand that that there has to be some level of pre-instruction, right? So if I took my my class to the massacre site and gave them no information about it beforehand, then it would be completely irrelevant to them, right? So it is important to do some instruction and then allow the experiences to provide more beneficial, more useful information for those students, right? And so the same way in math, right? If I go out there and I'm at home right now, so my son is in the living room. If I go out there and just give him, he's 3 years old, so it doesn't matter what. So add a few years to my son's age. Let's pretend that he's in elementary school, and I gave him just a set of numbers, and 2 numbers, and I said, just figure out what those add together to, without having any pre-instruction on what addition is, or really what numbers are, then he would not be able to do it, right? It doesn't necessarily matter how much you're able to manipulate these different variables if you don't have sort of the pre-knowledge that is necessary. So at this point, I will apologize if it is distracting, that my daughter has been very upset today, feeling a little under the weather, no fever. So if any of y'all are concerned about coronavirus, no fever, thankfully. Just just not feeling very well. She's a 1-year-old, so we're hoping that she just a growth spurt. Um, but yeah, so that is important to consider, that there is some logic to cognitive constructivism, but it's ultimately not anything that we don't already practice in the schools, okay? All right, so social constructivism, the big thing you need to learn from social constructivism is simply the fact that our learning happens through social interaction, right? So social interaction plays a huge role in our learning, and it is important for us to understand that whenever we are in our classrooms, that we are faced with many opportunities for us to encourage social interaction for our students to learn through the social interaction with ourselves, but also the social interaction with peers. Um, and so it's important for us to remember this, and that is why you see so many teachers that encourage group work. I know that it's one of those things that, as a student, I always hated group work. As a but as a teacher, as a professor, I understand that there is so much benefit that can be had from group work, from encouraging this kind of social interaction in a relevant, positive manner. So it's just important for us to remember that, and to remember that as Vygotsky said, our social interaction encourages cognitive functioning and encourages us to learn information and to process that information and put it into different schemas, or also develop new schemas depending on what we are learning out in the world, okay? So that's the biggest thing we need to learn with cognitive constructivism. So of course we need to understand the role of culture, and the thing that I think about with this is when you have certain cultures that do tend to be a little more socially reserved, and you have to understand that including them in a social interaction might be uncomfortable for them. It might be novel to them. It might not be necessarily an experience that they feel comfortable with. And so I think the big thing here to know is that whenever you are doing these types of groups, that you need to go out and just need to be aware of these different cultural impacts, and also understanding that if you're grading based on discussion, or grading on level of interaction, that it would be it could be inappropriate based on who your students are and what their upbringing has told them. There are other cultures that believe that I am the teacher, I am the sort of the leader of the classroom, I am the one that knows the information, right? So actually, this is honestly the way that I was raised, was to believe that the person that is standing in the front of the classroom knows everything about a particular topic, and I am not to question, right? And so my view was always that, Miss Kerr was my trig teacher in high school, and she is the one that knows the most about this topic than anybody else in this room, right? So why would I be asked to instruct student B on anything, right? And so just understanding cultural differences and how they can impact your social interaction in the classroom, okay? So all this is just going into saying that the classrooms are a community of learners, right? And so it seems, as it is Monday, March 29th, March 30th, and we are all sort of in this coronavirus state where K-12 is shut down, at least the buildings, George Nettles Elementary down the road from me is shut down, and teachers are being asked to work in an online setting. And it is important for us to remember still, even though we are working in an online setting, that classrooms are communities of learners, okay? And so student-to-student social interaction is incredibly important. So if there is some way for you as a teacher, one-day teacher or current teacher, to encourage some level of social interaction between your students, that is going to be highly beneficial for them, and honestly for you as a teacher. And so it's just reinforcing this idea that the social interaction in a lot of ways is as important as the topic that is being taught. And so really I'm sort of, as I'm discussing this and as I'm working on this and chewing on this, I keep thinking about just the impact of having no physical space for classes, in the entire state of Kansas. But the very, very positive news here is that we have internet, right? And so in a lot of ways, I hate the internet, I hate technology, but this is an opportunity for us to use this resource that we have to encourage our students to be as socially involved with their peers as possible, as socially involved with us as possible, right? And so this is, the benefit here is that we have this. When if this had happened 50 years ago, who knows how the classroom might have suffered. There is a lot that we can use technology for in this current sort of I shouldn't say post, but just post-coronavirus response situation that we are in. So yeah, just reminding yourself that classrooms are communities of learners, and they're opportunities for all of us to be socially engaged and socially involved in the lesson that is taking place. Okay. There's this idea of cognitive apprenticeships that you'll see in the book. And there's 4 components within this: modeling, scaffolding, verbalization, and increasing complexity. And this is a very, very sort of basic concept where, going back to what I was saying earlier, so I am a teacher, so I model the skills that I want you to learn. I teach you the skills that I want you to learn. And then scaffolding, you as a student, you take this next opportunity to ask any questions you might have, clear up any misconceptions or misunderstandings you might have, and so yeah, so I think that is one of the interesting parts about all this, right? And so then verbalization is our opportunity to for students to restate their level of knowledge and go out there and show what they've learned, right? And then increasing complexity is sort of the generalization. So within math, we call it acquisition, and then skill generalization is taking the skill and then making it more complicated, right? So if I learn single digit addition, let's figure out how to translate that to double digit addition, or or translating it from I now know addition, so let's figure out single digit addition, let's figure out single digit subtraction. All right, so it's an interesting concept, one that is very useful in the schools, but again, going back to just encouraging as much social interaction as possible. Learning sciences. All right, so if you notice any glitchiness or any jumping, it's because I'm hearing my daughter or my dogs or noises from other parts of the house sort of slowly trickling this way, and I'm trying to avoid a whole lot of screaming or a whole lot of interference in my videos and as much as possible. So yeah, so learning sciences ultimately is just the understanding that, again, I can't overstate this fact, is that students learn information and connect it to their own real world experiences, right? So it is beneficial for me to teach information that is digestible and that is relevant to the students. But also it's important for us to understand that teaching information in sort of just fact-based rote memorization is not as beneficial as teaching sort of this grander picture, right? So if you are teaching a unit on the explorers of the world, right? It could be more beneficial for you to teach about Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus and my lack of understanding of our world explorers is showing shockingly low right now. But essentially the idea that these people are connected, right? Magellan, that was what I was trying to think of. Magellan. And so just the understanding that these people are connected, right? So these people are not isolated facts, right? Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus and Magellan are not, isolated facts. They're not isolated individuals. They're all sort of, they're all bits of data within this grander picture of sort of world conquest, essentially, right? So everybody in the 1400s, 1500s was really, really eager to sort of dominate the world and own the world and settle the unknown areas of our globe. And so it's important for us to understand that within context, and it will provide sort of better retention of information if we teach in a way that provides for the grander picture. And as you might have gathered by my lack of familiarity with world explorers, my teachers might have been ones that I learned this stuff 20 years ago. I mean, so it was a long time ago that I was learning about world explorers. So I was going to make a joke about how my teachers didn't really teach in a way that that encouraged grander picture, but honestly, I don't necessarily remember how my teachers taught. So yeah, so and then the important aspect is just situated cognition. That last point there is simply just saying that as I mentioned before, our learning is improved by taking our learning into the real world setting, right? So not just sitting in a lecture hall or sitting in a classroom, but taking the information that we are learning and putting it out in the real world. It's very, very important. All right, so in the classroom, I think we've already gone over quite a few ways to use it in the classroom. Ultimately, just providing real world context, providing opportunities for your students to talk, to learn, and then formative assessment can easily be incorporated into this. So formative assessment is sort of using many sort of informal assessment data points to gather students' knowledge, right? So you can easily assess where a student is learning, how much they've learned, and how much they need to learn with formative assessment. And so that can easily be incorporated into this by using social interaction and just talking to students and gathering their understanding of certain topics. Or if you're in math and and students are manipulating a certain type of problem, you can take note of their what they have learned, what their skill level is. So pretty simple here. At least I think that it was covered pretty well in the previous slides. And technology is really, really important, as I mentioned already. We are now, this is more relevant today than ever before, really, with our classrooms being moved entirely online. And so, yeah, I think that is one huge benefit, right? So I want to, okay, so I took a little minute there to make some edits and to the discussion boards already. So what you will notice is that I have moved a few things around in Canvas. to where now we are in week 10 currently, but you'll see discussion 11. And then in week 11, you'll see discussion 10. And so what I planned on us discussing, I had included some discussion on misconceptions. So there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of talk about in the books about misconceptions and how misconceptions are sort of cognitive responses to our world, right? So we learning, we learn new information, and we might not necessarily like the information that we are learning right now. So the big example that I always think of is with political parties. But ultimately, what I want to do is I want to this week I want to have a discussion about coronavirus. Okay, and so the reason I'm doing this is because I want to discuss what your responses have been. Okay, so if you, along with most of the nation, spent the last 2 weeks sheltered in your house, I want to provide you some opportunity to discuss how you're doing. Right, so social interactions is incredibly important. We are social human beings. The suicide research out there is fairly stacked with literature on how social isolation is linked with suicide, and so I think that it's important for us to talk to others and to just discuss however much we can about how we're doing. And so this week I want to just open up the opportunity for everybody to discuss what are they doing, how are they doing, are there any, are there sicknesses, are there any benefits? So one of the things that I am really working hard to encourage right now is gratefulness, right? And so in my own personal life, I always consider myself more of an introvert than an extrovert. So in a lot of ways, it is very comfortable for me to be in my house, to be away from people. But at the same time, spending 2 or 3 weeks or 2 months or whatever it might be away from people, aside from my wife and my kids, can be really difficult, right? So that is one of the reasons that I'm encouraging Zoom conversations as much as possible, because they are beneficial, because we are social and we are social animals. But there are things that we can be grateful for, right? So in the past 2 weeks, I've gotten a ton of writing done, which is good. That is beneficial for my career, and I also have gotten opportunities to do writing with other professors at Pitt State on sort of what lessons learned from COVID-19. So there can be some benefits here, right? So a lot of families are experiencing that. Yes, I don't have I don't have a job to go to every day, but it's kind of nice being home with the family. I'm seeing my kids grow up. I am getting more opportunities to do my own personal projects. And obviously there is some people are more impacted than others, right? So a lot of people are losing their jobs, which is very, very unfortunate. So if that is you, then let us know, or just discuss whatever you're comfortable with. I know that the restaurant scene in Pittsburgh is shuttered, and I have a student in one of my classes in this class that is working at one of those restaurants, and and it's a very, very uncertain time in this world right now. So I just want to give this opportunity to have a discussion about sort of what we're thinking, how we're doing, how we're feeling. And again, I think it's important, gratefulness is very, very important when it comes to strong, positive mental health. And so just encouraging us to think about what we're grateful doing, what we're grateful for. And even if it's for just the simple fact that we are alive and we aren't sick and we aren't, being, our house isn't necessarily being ravaged by the sickness, or you can look at the fact that the Senate just, not just, but last week the Senate passed a coronavirus response bill, and a Senate that is, normally completely locked down in disagreement was able to pass this bill with 96 to nothing. That was fairly shocking. That was utterly mind blowing to me, to be honest. So there are some positives. They might not necessarily seem positive, but or positive, in relation to what what the world is going through. But I think it's important for us to remind ourselves that it's okay to be grateful for what we have in our lives. So yeah, I think that is what I want to have a discussion for. So this week, post in discussion 11, and then next week you'll be posting in discussion 10. Okay, so I flip-flopped them because I still want to have that misconception conversation, but I also want to have this conversation right here as well. All right, so if there's any questions, concerns, anything that doesn't make sense, anything that is confusing, whatever it might be, please let me know. Email me. Otherwise, I'll see you my marijuana group on Wednesday. I will see my coronavirus response group on Friday. The rest of you, I will see next Monday. Okay? All right. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great week. Stay healthy.